Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make some of these simple little hats for a buddy doll. So these are some of the ones that I've done recently. Most of them start with a very simple little beanie cap, and you can see you can do any colors you want. You can put a different color trim on the edge. You can add things like flowers to them. This one has a little butterfly on the side, and for the rim of this one I did a half double crochet to give it a little bit different texture. Then you can do different stripes. This one's like a little bumblebee. For this pretty little hat, for the rim, I wanted it to be a little kind of like a sun hat, so I did a chain 3 and then a slip stitch in each stitch all the way around, and it gives it that kind of ruffled look. For these two, the white is the same simple little beanie cap, and then for the teeth on this one I did a puff stitch and then a single crochet and a puff stitch for each one to kind of give it that texture of teeth down there, and then I sewed on these little details. So I have a nice little skeleton skull cap for anyone that's super into Halloween like I am. For the little mushroom cap, I have to finish putting on the white spots, but with this one I started with a magic circle of 6, did a single row crochet of 6 and then increased to 9, and then did a single row of 9 and an increase to 12 and a single row of 12, and I kept going that same way all the way down. And I'm sure in here around 18 and 24 I did more than just one row of the single crochets to make sure that I had plenty of height for this little pointy cap. And then once I got down to my level of 5 single crochets and an increase, I did the same 7 rows of single crochet, and then because I wanted the bottom of this little mushroom hat to be a little different than my regular beanie hat, I did another increase row, so I have 6 single crochets and an increase all the way around because I wanted it to flare out just a little bit so that I could put this other tan on the inside, like it's kind of turning under for that mushroom cap. So this guy will get his little white spots up on his hat and his little nose, and then he'll be finished. So for just the basic beanie cap, you're gonna have your magic circle of 6, your increase out to 12, your increase to 18, 24, 36, and 42. So 5 single crochets and an increase. And then you will have around 7 rows of single crochet, and then you will have your finishing row that I like to do 5 single crochets and a decrease. It kind of brings that hat back a little closer into the head as you come, down around the curve. Depending on the kind of yarn that you use, you may need to have more rows of single crochet. You may need to add an extra row of increases at the top. If you're using a chunkier yarn than what your doll is made out of, then you probably want to do less rows of increase at the top, and you will probably need fewer rows of single crochet to get it to fit on the head. But that's something that's very easy to adjust as you go. So make sure that you have your doll ready, and you can check the size of it as you're working. I like to keep my hat and my doll on the same weight yarn if possible, but for everyone that knows they've been working with yarn long enough, if you use a different brand, it can say that it's the same weight, and sometimes it's still a little thicker or a little thinner, and you might need to adjust for that. I typically use a number 4 worsted weight yarn for most of my projects, and usually I use a 5mm H hook when I work with these kinds of little stuffed animals. Uh-oh. Pardon my background noise. I've got toddlers that are getting ready for naps, getting a little sleepy. So if you would like to follow along with making a hat, we'll move these guys out of the way. Okay. As I was working with some yesterday, I made a couple extra little hats. So I've got this very colorful one, and it's just the variegation in the yarn. I just thought the colors were nice and bright and fun. And because pink is very in right now, I have this pretty little pink beanie. I'm going to add a bright pink pom-pom to the top, most likely. So there's my little pink beanie. And for these, since I don't have a doll to put them on yet, I checked them with some of the dolls that don't have their hats sewn on yet. So I can take them on and off and check sizes that way. So the color that I'm using this morning is called Dark Coral. And I'm going to start with my magic ring, magic circle, whichever you prefer to call it. I've heard it called all kinds of different things before. I'm going to start with my 6 single crochets. 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we'll pull that tight. And then we'll do our 6 increases, so we end up with 12. So we have 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12. Okay, so we move on to our 18 row. So our single crochet and increase. So I'll do 1 and 2, and then 3, 4 and 5, and then 6, 7 and 8, and 9, 10 and 11, 12, 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So then our stitch count for our next row is going to be 24. So I'll do an increase and then 2 single crochets. So we'll do 1 and 2, then 3, 4, 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21 and 22, 23, and 24. Okay, so next we have our row of 30, so we'll do 3 single crochets and then an increase. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 and 30. Okay, next we move into our row where we have 4 single crochets and an increase. And the way that I count these might be a little off for you. It's just the easiest way for me to keep up with it in my head without having to use a stitch counter. So I do 2 single crochets and then an increase, and then we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4 and an increase, 5, 6, 7, 8, an increase, pardon me, 9, 10, 11, 12, and an increase, 13, 14, 15, 16, and an increase, 17, 18, 19, and 20 with an increase. So I started with 2, so then I'm going to have 3, 4 to finish my 6 sets. So when you add up 24 plus the 12 increase stitches, you come up with 36. So now we have our row of 5 single crochets and an increase, and then we will move on to the rest of the sides of the hat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, increase, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and increase, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and increase, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, increase, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and increase, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. There's my last increase. Okay, now we're going to start working on those just rows of single crochet all the way around. And like I said, you'll need about 7 of them, and that can vary depending on the tension of your yarn thickness, the hook you're using. So just remember to have your doll, your little buddy, already made so that you can kind of try it on them as you go and make sure that it's going to fit. I'm actually going to tuck this in a little bit so it doesn't keep hitting my table as I'm working. That way it won't be flapping around. It's better. Oops. Oh, we have more grumpy toddlers. I've got two that are learning to share at the moment, and they're not doing a very good job. As I've said in one of my other videos, these little buddies are fantastic therapy tools, especially for children. The idea behind this type of little doll was so that children or people going to therapy could essentially talk to the doll instead of talking to the therapist if they were not comfortable with new people or maybe a little hesitant to open up. They could choose one of the dolls that they just liked the color of, liked the hat, the mohawk, the sweet little butterfly on the side, or in the case of some of the children therapists, pediatric therapists, I should say, they would let the children choose a doll based on the color hat that it had to go with the emotion they were feeling at the moment. So they could choose one that was yellow and talk about what made them happy. They could choose red and talk about what made them angry. They could choose blue, for being sad. And it helped kind of open that communication between the patient and the therapist. So also, these little buddies have been used as, we'll say, like an imaginary friend. So if you are feeling a bit stressed, your kid is feeling a bit stressed, they can have this little friend that they can take in their backpack and they can give it a little squeeze if they need a little bit of reassurance. I have an adult friend who carries hers when she travels, and she'll take funny little pictures of it sitting in different places for me. I have a couple photos on my Instagram page where one of my former students posed her little doll at Oktoberfest over in Germany, and I thought that was really funny. And they're nice and small, so they can fit pretty much anywhere You can think of them as a little guardian angel if you like, watching over the people that you love or miss. I make lots of these little buddies. All of them get different hats. Out of all the ones that I've made so far, I'm pretty certain I haven't made the same hat twice. It's just such a fun little way to be creative and personalize each one for everyone who may get one. Of course, you can do different little hats for whatever your favorite season or holiday is. So right now, I think our next big holiday coming up is Halloween. So I've got my skeleton skull little hat. I've got a witch hat. You could even do a zombie or a ghost. You could do any kind of little crazy monster creature. After Halloween, you have Thanksgiving. You could do a pilgrim hat. You could make a little turkey hat. That would be fun. Or even just something as simple as making a fairly plain hat and then putting some colorful fall leaves kind of appliqued on the side. You could even make a little acorn to put on the top. That'd be really cute. You have Hanukkah and Christmas. Last year I made a Hanukkah buddy for a friend, and we did just an off-white beanie, and then we put a small yellow and orange puffball on the top to be a candle flame. You could also do one that is just a pretty blue and white pattern. With Christmas, oh, there's so many different things you can do. I've done a couple that look like little packages. You can do Mr. and Mrs. Claus. You can do elves. You could have one that's green, make it a little Christmas tree. It would be so fun. And for Valentine's Day, you can do pinks and purples and do little applique hearts on them. In the spring, you can do all different types of flowers. One of the other designers that's been making these little buddies with fun little hats has done a ton of different ones that you can buy off of her Etsy site, the patterns for them. And some of those flowers are really pretty and nice. So let's see how many rows I have so far. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm gonna pop that loose for just a second. I'll try it on this little buddy, since his hat isn't sewn on yet. So I like to put it kind of at the back of the neck, because I want to make sure all of them come to the back of the neck back here. And then I see that it does not nearly cover his face as much as I want it to. So I probably need at least 2 more rows, and then we'll check and see where we are. This is why I like to have a little buddy handy to make sure that the heads and the hats are going to fit. Because this coral colored yarn that I'm using says it's a number 4, but it definitely does not feel as thick as some of the other number 4 yarns that I use, and it's not as thick as the off-white that I use for the little bodies. So that would make sense that I need to add a few more rows to make sure that it covers his head nicely. Oldest daughter asked me to make a couple little dudes, little buddies for her teachers at school. So one of them is going to get a pencil kind of hat, and the other one, she wanted to do their school mascot as a hat. So their mascot's a blue jay. So I get to figure out how to make a bird into a hat. My daughter likes to give me challenges. Almost done with the second row. So we'll try it back on this little head and see how we're doing. Such a pretty color. That's better. So I think once I add my last row, or I have 5 single crochets and a decrease, I think it'll be a little higher back here that way, and then it'll be another row longer this way. So I think that'll be enough for this little guy. So we'll go ahead and do this back up. Do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and decrease. 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 Okay, let's just see how that looks. Kind of nice to the back of the head. Oh, a little crooked. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. I'll give him a nose right here, I straighten it up just a little bit more before I sew it on. And then he is all done, unless you want to add a little applique to the side or a little pom-pom puff on the top. For this guy, I'm thinking I might add a little yellow star, like a starfish on the side. I think that would be very cute. So thanks for joining me today. If you have any questions or anything you would like for me to try so you can watch as I make it, drop it in the comments below. See you next time.